Hello all, my name is not Admiral Apples, but that is what you can call me. In this, which will be my first video, I will be sort of taking a look at the Burning Crusade private server that I play on, as well as doing a brief pros and cons list uh, regarding this server specifically and private servers in general. First off, a little bit about myself. I started playing World of Warcraft in 2007, I believe, when Burning Crusade was still the live expansion. I played Burning Crusade, I played Wrath of the Lich King, Cataclysm. I did not play Mists of Pandaria, but I did play Warlords of Draenor and Legion. I found this server about 4 to 5 years ago, and I absolutely love it. It's my favorite of all expansions and servers. The Burning Crusade has just about all of my favorite raids of all time. Karazhan, the Black Temple, Tempest Keep, and Mount Hyjal are all fantastic, and I love them. Favorite raids of all time. Um, I love the visuals, the landscape, really everything about the way the Outland and Outland dungeons and raids were designed, as well as some more integral parts of the game. So, like raid sizes. I love the fact that 10-man raids exist, but the core raids are 25 player, um, which really brings I really think is a good balance of players, because 40 is obviously way too many. But when you're in such a small scale, like a 10 or a 15 or even a 20 man raid, you really don't feel as it really doesn't feel as epic or as grand of a scale as it does when you're playing in a larger raid size. So 25 is really, I think, is the best size of raid. Um, and then the biggest thing for me about the Burning Crusade endgame is that every class and every spec just about in the game has a unique role to fill. Um, yes, obviously there are certain classes that do more DPS than other classes, and there are certain tanks that hold aggro in certain situations better than others, but everyone has a place and everyone has a unique role. For example, a balanced druid. Balanced druid in the Burning Crusade will never top any DPS charts. However, if you want your warlock to be topping DPS charts, you need a boomkin in your group. Same goes for a feral druid or an enhancement shaman or a shadow priest. If you want your group to be performing at its top capabilities, you need every class in their unique role. PvP, however, I would not say is as balanced as the PvE rather aspect of it. There are certain classes that just dominate in PvP. Feral, or I'm sorry, resto druids and rogues. Um, Off the top of my head, those are the two that really stand ahead above the others. Um, I've heard things about other expansions and how PvP was better in other expansions. Mists of Pandaria comes to mind, but like I said earlier, I did not play Mists of Pandaria, and I'm not a real big PvPer, so I would not be the expert on those subjects. I have PvP'd to some extent on this server, and I can tell you that rogues and druids are broken. It's just absolutely ridiculous. You will never kill a resto druid in PvP, and a rogue, if you don't have a racial or a escape for stuns, then you're gonna get stun locked for all eternity and just murdered. Anyway, moving on. This particular private server that I'm playing on, is excellent. I have played on a few other private servers before, but this one really is phenomenal. It feels pretty damn close to the original live version of the game. I am not going to name this private server, by the way, but I will say that it is, last I checked, the top rated Burning Crusade server, private server on certain websites that rate the quality of private servers. Now, obviously, the server is going to have its issues, but I will address those later as I move into the latter half of this video. So, we're going to start with the pros because I'm in a positive mood today. So, number one on my pros list is when you play on a private server, you can play at your own pace, which is huge for me. I have always felt a sort of pressure in retail and in live World of Warcraft to stay, ahead of the game. Because if you want to raid seriously beyond the LFR difficulty, then you really do have to. You have to work at your character, and you have to put a lot of time and effort and dedication into gearing up your character, making sure you're attuned with the right things, making sure you have the right reputation, etc., etc., etc. And when you play on the live World of Warcraft, you are under a constant time constriction because there are certain players out there that will blaze through any content that you give them, no matter what. And so Blizzard, being the profit machine they are, is constantly trying to churn out new and exciting and entertaining content for everyone. So you are constantly under this pressure to get your character where they need to be so that you can experience all this content. Now, obviously, we all know that World of Warcraft and Blizzard, they introduced, these certain things, such as LFR, that allow you to experience the content just at a different pace, but you're not really experiencing the content when you can go in and basically face roll an entire raid. So playing on a private server sort of alleviates that. It takes away that time restraint. And yet you can still experience the same amount of content. So if it takes you 2 years to get to level 70 and a year of gearing at level 70 before you're ready for tier 4, then you don't have to worry at all about getting bypassed or not getting to experience any content. It's just going to take you more and more time. Because taking 3 years to get into Karazhan is a long time. But if you work at it, and if you know your character, and if you have the appropriate gear, you will eventually get in there. I can't really remember how long exactly it took me to get into a, let's say, a Black Temple raid, but I did eventually get there. And considering that I do have a full-time job and a life outside of this game, it really is nice to know that Wrath of the Lich King is not hot on my heels, and I have to hurry up and kill Illidan and kill Kil'jaeden as fast as possible so that I actually can experience those raids before the Wrath of the Lich King comes out, and I have to go back to leveling again, and then go back to gearing, and then go back to farming, and then go back to raiding before Cataclysm comes out, and blah 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 blah. Taking that pressure off of the gameplay really does emphasize the gameplay itself, and it makes it a hell of a lot more enjoyable. Number 2. This one is obvious, but I feel like it needs to be said anyway. Private servers are free. They're free. You don't have to pay anything. You don't have to buy the game client, which is, $60. You don't have to pay $15 a month to play it. You can just log in at any time and play, which is fantastic. But it also does bring in another aspect, which is that you can create as many accounts as you want, considering that you don't have to buy uh, the game client and subscription time with an account when you set it up. You can just make as many accounts as you want, which allows you to do things like enchant your own gear or run lower levels through dungeons. You know, just these small little perks that really make it more enjoyable to play. Now, of course, there are downsides to having a free World of Warcraft server, but I will get into that a little bit more in the cons section. And the third item I have on my pros list is the community. Now, I don't know what it is exactly. It could go back to what I said earlier about the lack of stress on a private server. But generally what I've found is that the community in the private server is far better than that of the live retail version of the game. Now, of course, there are always going to be those people that ruin the game experience for everyone around them in any game, no matter what. But generally, those experiences for me have been few and far between. Also, playing on a private server that is available to players worldwide, one, such as myself, is given the opportunity to play with players, let's say, in Europe and talk to and raid with them, which is something that, I mean, it really doesn't affect the game that much, but it definitely adds a little perk if you're that kind of person that, you know, finds interest in talking to people from all over the world, which I am. My fourth item in the pros column is specific to this server. It is cross-faction grouping. By my reckoning, it was something that was introduced in the early stages of the server development to alleviate any issues that might arise from a low population situation. Where this private server is at currently, I would not say that it is something that is necessary. I think that there are more than enough people that play during prime time that you could easily find dungeons and raids within your own faction, but it is something that has stuck around. Also on this private server, and I'm sure many others, there is a world chat. So, as you may know, in the Burning Crusade, there wasn't a looking for group tab in the way that it exists now. You can't just push a button and queue up for a dungeon, and the system in-game will find a group for you. You actually have to search through chat in order to find and create your groups. So, having a world chat and being able to cross-faction group really makes the archaic looking for group system definitely more easily navigated. Now, my final item in the pros column is also my first item in the cons column, and that is that some private servers, including the one that I play, have a store online. Now, in the store, you can do certain things. You can buy levels for your character. You can buy skill ups for your professions. You can buy gear. You can buy aesthetic things like mounts and tabards and that sort of thing. Now, this is a pro because, you know, if you've been playing on a private server for a long time, then you might want to change things up by buying some levels for a new character, or say, you know what, I've leveled in the Outlands 100 times now. I just want to skip over it. You can buy levels. Or if you've farmed a dungeon or a raid countless times for just one piece of gear that you really, really need, and you can't get it, then you can always go to the website and buy it. I personally have never bought gear or levels or profession skill ups, but I can definitely see where that desire would factor in. Now, uh, I'm sure a lot of you can already see where this is going for the cons side. The pay to win factor is pretty huge. Now, the one good thing about the item store in this private server is that it does not contain items from Tier 6, Sunwell Plateau, or the final arena season, which is definitely good. You don't want to go into a battleground with somebody that's full brutal and just get annihilated. So yeah, there is that the people in charge of the server did realize that having best in slot items on the item store kind of imbalances the game and ruins the experience for certain players. But yeah, that is one thing that you have to get used to with this server. Now I know that there are other private servers that do not have an item store, but this one does. Now, it is important to note, regardless of your feelings of the item store, that servers need money to effectively run. You need to pay your developers and you need to pay the costs of the server. You cannot do that if you're giving away the product for free to everyone. So having an item store, having things that people actually want to spend real money on, allows you to really run the server effectively. So yeah, if you're walking in Shattrath City and you see somebody decked out in gear that you know that they did not earn, just remember that you get to play on the server because they bought gear. Moving on to the second item on the cons list is bugs and lag. Most private servers are located in Europe, so that could cause certain latency issues depending on your location. I have pretty decent internet and my computer is pretty fast, so I usually don't have any issues with my personal latency, but the server does occasionally have some lag spikes. And of course there is the DDoS issues that arise. Not very often, but often enough to make it worth mentioning. As far as bugs go, this server is really is pretty good. Most of the things are aesthetic. A couple examples off the top of my head are you will zone into an instance and one of your party members will be invisible. Their ghost or their shadow or footprint will appear, but you will not actually be able to visually see them. You just have to rezone into the instance. Sometimes, like if you'll go to a sign at a crossroads, there are a couple I can think of that the sign, one of the planks is weird. In the Caverns of Time, some of the NPCs in there are swimming in midair. But really, again, it's more aesthetic things that don't really affect gameplay all that much. It's just one of those things you have to consider, that it is a private server, it is free, it's not perfect. Con number 3. Con number 3 actually rolls into con number 4. It is possible with playing the same content over and over and over again that you will get bored and you will get burnt out of playing on a private server. You might get sick of it. You might not have the longevity that someone like me has to be able to play on a private server on one expansion for years and years and years. Now, that moves on to con number 4, which is there are certain zones in my server that are basically unplayable because it is a PvP server. And do you know what board level 70s do? Yep, that's right. They go to Stranglethorn Vale and they kill everything in sight. So that can be a little bit annoying. Now, The final item on the cons list is by far the most important. Private servers are illegal, and playing on them violates the terms and conditions of playing World of Warcraft. Um, we all saw what happened with Nostalrius. At any point, Blizzard can issue the server a cease and desist letter, which will effectively shut down the server and destroy any and all of your progress that you have made. And well, that about wraps it up for me. Uh, Let me know if you think I missed anything. I will start releasing some videos, just dungeons, maybe some raids eventually, of my personal experiences on this Burning Crusade private server. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I hope it brought you some insight. Have a good day.